Hello and welcome to our webinar. Are you concerned that you've created a time bomb that could harm your family? Have you done what you should to prevent your estate being wasted on attorney fees, your family fighting for control, your money going to nursing homes, your money going to your kids' creditors, or your in-laws or others interfering with your estate? If you aren't sure, you're in the right place. In the next few minutes, we will help you decide what planning you need. So let's begin. How would you like to secure your assets, protect your estate, and finally get peace of mind, knowing that your family and your belongings are well taken care of no matter what? Because most people I work with want the exact same thing. They're confused about what estate planning is. They don't know who to ask for advice, and they just don't know where to start. You hear all these terms like wills, trust, guardianship, power of attorney, and you get confused. And you give up trying to understand it all because you just don't know what's right. And all of this just leads to procrastination. And procrastination just leads to anxiety and stress because you know this is important, you know you need to get it done, but nothing is happening. What you want is someone you can trust to tell you what is the best thing for you and to explain it in a simple, easy to follow way and help you get what's best for you and your family. You want to know that your assets aren't going to be unnecessarily wasted, captured by creditors, in-laws, messed with by exes, or given over to nursing homes. You want to do what is best for your family, not to leave them with problems. And that's what I've been helping my clients do for over 30 years. I'm David Pyke with Pyke Associates, and I help people get peace of mind by helping them understand their estate and what will work best for them. In this short video, I'm going to share with you the biggest mistake people make when trying to plan their estates. The 4 threats your will and current estate plan probably doesn't help with, and the simple steps you can take right now to make sure you are properly protected. You should know that we've helped hundreds of families move to peace of mind to solve these problems and make sure their estate planning is good now and into the future, because we like to continue to work with these families with free annual reviews so that they know their estate planning is in good shape and it's not something they have to worry about. So what's the biggest mistake I see people make in doing their estate planning? Here it is. They assume that a basic will cover them. Why do they assume that? Because what you've been told by a variety of sources is that how estates go wrong is you don't have any will, that the problem is probate itself. And if you have a will, everything magically works out. Well, that's just not true. So I see clients coming in every day with old, out-of-date wills that don't work for them, or wills that don't deal with any of the issues that I'm going to talk about in this brief webinar. And what happens when they don't do that planning is that the legal fees are much higher. There's more paperwork, and there's a lot of extra added stress on their family. So you need to look at your estate plan, mentally think about what you have right now, and ask, does your estate plan protect you from these issues? Issues of remarriage, what I call the Randy problem. The issues of in-laws, what I call the Bruno problem. Issues to dealing with creditors or future lawsuits, and the expense of long-term care in nursing homes. If you're not sure that your estate plan protects you from this, you're not alone. Most people who have gone to lawyers and who have drafted estate plans haven't dealt with any of these issues, because what the lawyer did is give them a very simple will that leaves everything to the spouse and then to their children, and they have not even considered these issues. So let me dive into these issues with just a little bit more detail. The first thing, what I call the Randy problem. The basic will that leaves everything to your spouse literally does that. The spouse who survives now owns everything. Then what happens? Along comes a guy like Randy. and he wants to marry the spouse who has just inherited this money. And you might say, we're not going to get remarried. We've been married a long time, have no interest in marriage. I can tell you the facts are otherwise. 65% of people who become single after the age of 65 get remarried. Let me repeat that again. Let it sink in. 65% of the people who become single after they become 65 remarry. That is a stunning statistic. It is not just a possibility that you will have a remarriage. It's a probability, and you want to plan for all probabilities. Do most wills plan for this probability? No. You can easily plan to fix the situation to guarantee that your estate goes to your children or your heirs. But most wills don't even give this a nodding attention. So that's what I call the Randy problem. Secondly, and like it, is what I call the Bruno problem, assuming that one of your heirs is your very smart, capable daughter who made one bad decision in her life. She married this guy who we'll call Bruno. Well, among Bruno's issues is he thinks playing poker is an investment strategy. So he's always out of money. So if your daughter is going to inherit, is Bruno going to be after that money? Yes. He's going to pressure her for it, and do most wills do anything to help Susan protect that money? Not a thing. And furthermore, if Susan takes that money and commingles it with her account, she's going to split it with Bruno in a divorce. And we need planning that makes sure that the money we leave to our children stays with our children. The third issue that most wills don't do anything to protect for is what happens in the future. Maybe if we know a child has a medical issue or creditor problems or in a lawsuit because of an accident, we'll do a particular type of planning. But it's not just what happens now. We want a will that lasts for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And what happens in the future? My crystal ball isn't very good. So we want to do planning that doesn't assume the best, but assumes that things could happen wrong in life, that there could be medical emergencies. So we don't want all of our money that we leave to our heirs to go for their medical care before they can qualify for benefits. We also don't want to enrich plaintiff personal injury attorneys who, if they blame your child for an accident, is going to look at their inheritance as easy money. Although Texas has great debtor protection laws, there is no protection for an inheritance. It is an asset available. Do most wills do anything to protect for this? They don't at all. The final thing is we want to protect for long-term care expenses. Let me say, as a priority of how I plan, is that planning should be for you. In other words, your money is for you. We want you to live your life in the location where you want to be and in the level of care that you deserve. So we don't want to just store assets for other people. We want to use them for you. But we don't want to leave our loved ones, including our spouse, assets that they must spend before the government benefits would help pay for their long-term care. And we can do that by Medicaid rules that leave assets to the spouse and to our children in non-countable way. So let me talk just a little bit about Medicare planning. There are 3 levels. Level 1, which we do in estate planning, is not to leave assets to our spouse, our children, and our loved ones where they are countable assets. In other words, those assets do not have to be spent to qualify for government medical benefits. A second level of planning is to save your own assets. If you're within 5 to 10 years of possibly needing assisted or independent care, you might consider something that we call a lockbox trust. So this is not standard estate planning, but an advanced level of planning that's appropriate for some people. Finally, there's a level of planning that's kind of an oxymoron. We call it crisis planning. If you're in a crisis, you really have failed to plan. So we don't want to plan to be in a crisis. But even when someone needs immediate qualification for government programs like Medicaid, and they're going to immediately go into a long-term care facility, we can almost always do something that substantially helps the family save assets. So to summarize, we want to protect your estate plan from future threats. We want to make sure that the Randys and Brunos don't end up with your assets. We want to make sure that future creditors of your spouse and your children don't get the assets, that nursing homes don't get the assets, and we qualify as soon as possible people for government benefits. And we can do this type of planning through either a will or a living trust. But people don't really understand living trust very well. And so I'm going to talk just about them for a minute. People understand wills. They're pretty simple and straightforward. Most of you probably have a simple will. But what is a living trust? A living trust is like a box, and we're going to put a label on it. We're going to call it, in my case, the David Pyke Living Trust. And what do we do with that box? Well, we put our assets into it. We take our car, and I wish I had a boat, and an airplane, and our house, and whatever assets, and we put them in the trust. We actually transfer title of our assets into the trust. Well, what makes it a living trust? Well, the person who creates the trust we'll call the trust maker. Who is that in my case? It's me. In your case, it's you. You are the trust maker. Some people call this a grantor or a settlor or trustor. It all means the same thing. You're the person who makes the trust. We need somebody in any trust to run the trust. That person is called a trustee. And the third role is a beneficiary. That's the role you want. That's the person who gets to use the money and spend the money. So a trust is always a three-party arrangement between a trust maker, a trustee, and a beneficiary. What makes a living trust? You're all three positions. You create the trust, you manage the trust, you spend the money. Usually with couples, two people do that, and they're joint trust makers, joint trustees, joint beneficiaries. So that's a trust. So trusts are fundamentally important for some people. They're a key component of the plan, but they're not for everyone. I'm going to talk about one reason a little bit later why you might need a living trust as opposed to a will, but not everybody does. What everybody does need are powers of attorney. Now, we've been talking about a will or a living trust. They plan for your death. If you die, a will is your last will and testament. It comes into a play. Powers of attorney are for incapacity. They're what happens when you can't take care of yourself anymore. And there are two types of powers of attorney, medical and financial. The medical one is easy because everybody needs one, and it's the only medical planning document we have. We create a power of attorney, and we do an advance directive to tell that agent under our power of attorney what we want in end-of-life decision-making. Everybody, and I mean this without exception, every adult needs a medical power of attorney. Virtually every adult also needs a financial power of attorney to plan for their own incapacity. And they're very effective, and they're very simple documents. I say that a power of attorney is like a Jeep. It's very effective at getting you from point A to point B. But if there's going to be controversy, if there's going to be a fight, you need better protection on it. I mean, look at this Jeep. It doesn't even have a door or a roof. That's not very good protection. If you have a family situation that is prone to lead to a fight, then you need something that's more like an armored personnel carrier. Without explaining the technicalities, the armored personnel carrier is a living trust. It is more durable, it is more effective in dealing with fights. Now, who is more likely to have fights? You have to tell us, we can't tell you. Sometimes it's the family dynamics. Sometimes it's just the nature of who your heirs are and how they relate to each other or don't get along. if there are a history of family feuds, if you have a divided family, you have children from one relationship and children from another relationship that don't have a history of working together, then you probably have a heightened likelihood of conflict. Whatever the reason is, we don't have to understand the reason. You just need to tell us, I think I need the added protection of a living trust to deal with my incapacity because I need that more durable vehicle. How do you choose an attorney that will help you navigate the difficult roads ahead and make all of the critical decisions so that you have a good estate plan? Well, look at your current will or estate planning documents. Are there anything there that deal with the family protection issues that I've raised? Do they deal with Randy? Do they deal with Bruno? Do they protect your assets in the future from lawsuits, medical issues, and nursing homes? Does your estate planning help you qualify for Medicaid? Is this even a conversation that you've had with your estate planning attorney? And is your attorney concerned about you for the long term? Or did he do documents for you a long time ago and sent you on his way? That's not our approach at Pyke & Associates. We want to make sure you not have just good documents, but a very successful estate. That's why we handle the full range of probate services so that we do the planning and we make sure the plan is followed through and that your estate is successfully and financially well handled. And we do that by encouraging free annual reviews of estate plans and free modifications for up to 2 years after the estate plan because we want to see you have success. But we have to start your planning for you. And you can do that by looking below on this screen and clicking the link and scheduling a time right now for your estate plan. We hope this webinar has helped you make good decisions for you and your family into the future. Thank you.